welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Hi, my name is Richie and I'm so glad that you're here. This video I'm going to be doing a book unhaul, as you would have definitely guessed from the title. I have not really wanted to do a book unhaul, but my bookshelf is kind of overflowing a little bit, and there's definitely some books that I have that I'm just like not interested in anymore, not interested in keeping, and also just not interested in possibly reading, and I just don't see the point in having them in my shelf if I can give them away and hopefully someone else might pick up those books and want to read them. I have a few like little street library pop-up things in my area, so I can definitely donate some books there. I also have like a little lending library bookshelf in my apartment building as well, so I definitely have avenues to give away these books, but they're just not meant for me anymore. Anyway, I'm gonna get straight into it because I've just got a few books to talk about. The first one that I'm going to talk about is kind of random, and it was just a random purchase that I made, and I just didn't really end up knowing what the story was, and I never read it, and I don't ever plan on picking it up. It is The Roommate by Rosie Dunnan. I used to see this all the time when I went to the shops, and I thought it was really interesting, and then I just like never read it. Just did not appeal to me whatsoever, and then I've heard that it's not that good of a book, and like it just didn't have that many good reviews, or I've just like not heard anything that positive about it, so I think I'm gonna give this away. I think it's about this girl and guy who kind of know each other but don't really know each other, and they end up like sharing a house. I think he has like an OnlyFans or something, and I think they like work together to like make him better at doing things in the bedroom, if you will. I'm not too sure, but I mean the storyline is kind of interesting because it's like definitely a more modern day of like, you know, being on OnlyFans and things like that. But yeah, I just didn't hear like good things about the book, so it just never intrigued me to pick it up, so I'm gonna give this one away. The next one is a bit of a random purchase that I made, and it's called The Wife Next Door. It's a thriller about, I think, this couple who like kind of move into this like lot where it's like easily accessible by the ex-wife and the kids are involved, something like that, just to keep like happy families and have like the family all together. And I thought it was a really interesting story, possibly be a really good thriller. Just never ended up reading it, just not even interested, to be honest. Like the story sounds interesting, but I think I started this like a few pages in and I didn't really like it. I think I might give this one away or keep it and give it to someone I know who likes thrillers and stuff. I feel like maybe they'll find it interesting. The next books that I want to give away that I think maybe I'll give to a friend or someone is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I read the first one and I absolutely loved it, but I never felt any inclination to like read the second and third books. Like I got it as a set and I thought I would end up reading them, but I think the time has passed and I'm not very intrigued by the second and third stories. I'm not too sure. Like I really love the first, just not intrigued by the other two books personally, and I think my tastes have just changed from like YA mystery a little bit, although I do, like I said, I've loved the first one, so I might check if any of my friends want to read it. Maybe they'll want to keep like the trilogy, but if not, then I'm just gonna give this one away. Another kind of series that I want to get rid of is the Knockabout series that I got. I read the first one and I absolutely hated it. Like I don't know what I gave it. I think I gave it like 3 stars, which is honestly generous for me because there were some good parts to it and I liked the found family aspect. I liked the family aspect in general because it was nice to see like this whole small town come together and help these people, blah blah. But I think like the guy character just was such an ick, like the biggest ick ever. Like I just genuinely didn't enjoy him, and these are chunky books, and so like reading like almost, how many pages was this, like almost like 500 pages, just not really like vibing with the characters. Like it was a bit too much. And then I actually had the second book with me the whole time. I had Things We Hide from the Light. I've been like thinking like I should read it, and I think I've done a few TBR videos where this has been on my TBR, but I've just like not picked it up. I did actually start reading this a little bit. I got up to 60 pages and then I gave up because I just like couldn't do it anymore. I actually don't even know who this followed. I think this followed the male main character from the first book's brother, who's like a police officer, and then the girl is his brother's ex from like college or high school or something. I don't really know, and honestly none of that sounds interesting to me. This is almost 600 pages. I know people love Lucy Score, and this is kind of the only series I read by her, so maybe her other books or her backlist is like a lot better. I feel like I just sounded really rude, but I just genuinely, just some of these characters and what they do just gave me such a big ick, so I'm gonna get rid of these two. Next book I'm gonna get rid of is this random book that I picked up at Big W. I just thought the cover was cute, it was interesting, but I don't think I'm ever gonna read it, and I have like so many other books on my TBR that I'd rather get to. Doesn't mean that this is bad because I've not really heard much about it, not really seen anything about it, but I think, yeah, like I said, I have other books that I want to get to, so I don't think I'll ever really reach for this one. It's called Beach Rivals. I think it's about two people who go to Bali because there's a job advert to work in this like bookshop, and they're there for like 3 months and stuff, and they basically work together in this bookshop, and they kind of don't like each other, and then I guess sparks fly and they kind of get to know each other a bit more. It's kind of like a fun little beachy romance. Like, it does sound like kind of good, but again, I think I'm just gonna reach for other books, and I feel like there's like so many books coming out this year, and I'm just like more excited for them than I am for this one, so I think this needs a better home. The next book I want to unhaul is The Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. I don't know when I read this, but I know a lot of booktubers really love this series and they like rave about it a lot, and I didn't really like it. Like, it's just not something that really stuck with me, nothing that like made me want to read like the rest of the series. I know there's like a new kind of series coming out, like it's kind of like a spin-off from this, and I think the book came out like last year or something, I'm not too sure, but I think I'm just like not interested in this world, and like, yeah, it just like really didn't do it for me. I felt like the main character was kind of annoying. I do want to read another series by this author, and I think it's called Stalking Jack the Ripper. I think that's what it's called. It's like kind of like a Victorian Regency era, kind of like historical fiction, like in the Victorian times, and I think the girl is like someone who does autopsies and she helps in trying to solve murders, but obviously because back then women weren't allowed to work, or like they were looked down upon for like having these extra things that they want to do. So I think that's like kind of what the premise is. I don't know, I've heard a few people talk about it and it sounds really fun and interesting. Maybe I'll give that a go and see if I like it, but yeah, this one just is not for me. I'm just like not interested whatsoever to continue the series or even read the spin-off, so I think I'm gonna get rid of this. The next book I have is Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. Again, this was a very random purchase that I literally just saw in a bookshop, and I have like this thing if I go into a bookshop that I almost always end up buying something or like really wanting something, and I have to control myself very badly to like not buy something. So I guess this is the one time that I kind of caved in and I bought a book, even though I'm never gonna get to it. I think it's like a series. There's a few other ones. There's Tools of Engagement, Fix Her Up, Love Her or Lose Her. So I think it's like a little, I don't even know if maybe it's a series. It's probably just like interconnected standalone books, but it's like in the same area. I'm not too sure. I think it's something to do with like a TV show, kind of like a being a house kind of vibe. I'm not too sure. Again, I'm not really even keen to read it, not very interested. I literally bought it and I left it on my bookshelf, so that's on me for wasting my own money and being silly about buying books. But I'm trying to be more mindful of like actually buying books that I'm going to be really intrigued by and not just buying books on a whim. So I'm gonna definitely unhaul this, and maybe someone else will find this a lot more interesting and like want to read it. The next one is kind of similar. I got this book by Paige Toon, which is called Only Love Can Hurt Like This. I got this book and then I saw, I think it was Sarah Caroli. She did like reading sad books or something. I'm not too sure what she did. She did like a video and she read this book and she hated it and she just didn't really enjoy it. So then I basically got completely put off and did not want to read it. I feel like when I see a bad review of a book, it kind of makes me not want to read it unless like the storyline is just interesting enough to like pull me in and make me want to read it and like give my thoughts on it. I think like the story didn't sound that interesting. It's about a girl who gets cheated on and then she moves back home and she meets someone else, and then, you know, it's just her like kind of navigating heartbreak and stuff. And don't get me wrong, like that's a pretty common topic that you can be interested in, but I think in this scenario I just did not find myself like really reaching for this book. I think, yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this because I think other people will probably enjoy this book a lot more. The next book that I'm going to be unhauling is called Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I know that this is a very loved series. It's like a YA mystery. It was actually on my TBR for April to read, and I got like quite a few pages in and I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. Like I just didn't really click with the writing style, didn't really click with the characters, and I'm just like not that intrigued by like the story. This is definitely a bit more suited for YA, like a younger audience, and I'm just like, it's not really in my element right now, but I think it depends on like the book, and this book just didn't cut it for me at the moment, so I'm gonna be unhauling this. I also want to get rid of Twisted Love by Anna Wong. I think I started this book and then I never went back to it, and I think this seems to be a bit of a hit or miss kind of series overall. Like people either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it. I personally am just like not intrigued by the series enough to keep reading this one. So I mean, I don't know, maybe like I might pick up a book one day, I might be interested and might be a fun, easy read, but today is not that day, and this has been on my shelf for a really long time and I'm just not intrigued by this anymore. So I think I'm just gonna give this away and then we'll see if I ever end up coming back to it. But I think for now my door is shut on this series and this book. The last series that I want to get rid of is the Serpent and Dove trilogy, which is, oh my gosh, there's 3 books here and they're all pretty chunky books. I think I read Serpent and Dove when I did my first ever time of like reading fantasy books for a week, and that was like the first time I ever read fantasy, and I really enjoyed this world and it was really interesting. It was a bit slow, but it wasn't like too bad or anything. I just like never felt any interest in picking up the second and third book, so I think I'm just going to give it away. Like there's so many other fantasy books that I'm like more inclined to read and finding more interesting. And the last book that I have to like give away and like get rid of is also a fantasy. It's Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I've seen so many things about this book and I was really curious about it, and then I never ended up reading it, and I think the story just doesn't appeal to me anymore. It's like an Alice in Wonderland sort of retelling, and I don't know, I'm not that interested in Alice in Wonderland to begin with. So yeah, a lot of these books that I have are definitely books that I got recommended off like Book Talk or BookTube. And I think like when I first started getting into reading, I kind of just like took everyone's recommendations, like, you know, if they loved it, I loved it, and I kind of just like bought books without kind of like really looking in if I would like the story and stuff. But now that I'm like kind of like properly back into reading, like I'm trying to be more mindful and just like, if I like the story then I'll buy it. But if I'm not super intrigued by the story and I'm just getting influenced by someone's review and someone like really enjoying it, then I kind of just like wait on it a little bit longer and see how badly like I want to read it. I feel like if I kind of like make myself wait for it, sometimes I just like, oh, actually I'm not that interested in the book anyway. It's just like my favorite booktuber is like interested in it, so I'm interested in it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think, yeah, that's a good way to like make sure I'm not just like buying a bunch of books that like I'm not gonna read, because I want to be able to read all the books, and I have so many books on my TBR and so many books that are coming out, so many books like that have already come out like that I just like want to read, and like there's just so many books in the world, and I think there's no point in wasting time reading books that you're not going to enjoy. Like life is too short for that. So I just want to be reading books that I enjoy, reading books that I like. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching my book unhaul video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.